In this presentation, we will take a look at bank feeds within QuickBooks Online. For more accounting information and accounting courses, visit our website at accountinginstruction.info. We'll introduce what the bank feeds are, and we'll go through the setup process for the bank feeds. First, we want to discuss what the bank feeds do in a broad context and what they don't do. The bank feeds do bring in the information from the bank into the system automatically, which is great because that will reduce a lot of data entry time. However, the bank feeds do not eliminate categorizing. They could help with the categorizing. In other words, we're still going to have to go through those bank transactions in some form or another and make sure that we are entering them into the system properly. We'll discuss how to do that. But once that is set up, there is an automatic feature that QuickBooks will try to memorize prior transactions or prior activities that we have put into the system and do more of that categorizing over time. But we do need to go in there and make sure that everything is properly categorized. It also doesn't eliminate the need to reconcile the bank accounts. Again, it could simplify the bank reconciliation process. If all of our information is coming from the bank feed, then it could help us by being able to check off exactly what has been cleared already once we do the bank reconciliation process. But simply connecting to the banking system and downloading the transactions automatically does not make it so that we don't have to reconcile, or that reconciliation happens just through that downloading process. So we want to make sure we continue to do the reconciliations, because reconciliations are going to be a really important component. Again, if we have a system set up where all of our information is coming from the bank and we're not doing any data input other than just downloading from the bank, that reconciliation process should be fairly straightforward. However, oftentimes we do have input that we're putting into the system as we go through the normal accounting process as well, and therefore we want to make sure in any case to go through the bank reconciliation process. If you would like to test drive the QuickBooks Online bank feeds so you can set it up and set up some of the other features, practice using some data that's not yours before you set up your bank feeds or manipulate some of your data, you can try searching for QuickBooks or just Googling test drive QuickBooks Online into it. And QuickBooks will often provide some sample data that we can take a look at. Sample data like Craig's Design and Landscaping Service, a file that will have some data in it so that we can use it in order to practice some of the features that are useful. And it does have some bank feeds information, so we can maneuver around the bank feeds and get used to some of the options before connecting or setting it up in our account and manipulating the data in our files. Here is a practice file we're going to use to go through some of the characteristics of the banking system and how to set up the bank feeds. I'm currently zoomed in just a little bit. You can do that by holding down Control, and I use the scroll bar on the mouse to zoom in and out. So you can use the plus arrows up here. So I'm currently at 125% of the screen. We're in the banking section. Now we already have the bank feeds set up here. To go through the setup process, however, you want to go to the Add Account. So we're going to add account, and then we can go through the setup process, which is pretty straightforward. We will choose our bank. We'll pick the credentials that will be necessary for our bank. We'll actually need obviously the credentials to log into the bank. Once we do so, then we'll be able to select which bank account that we want to have the automatic updates for that bank detail to be included within QuickBooks. Choose those accounts, and then the bank feed should bring in that information automatically, and it'll update that information automatically. So that setup process is pretty straightforward. Once it has done so, I'm going to close out of this, X out of this window. Then you'll see this information that will populate in your banking section. It's important to note that we're not done here. This is going to be the information that has been populated or included into the system, but it's not completely into our QuickBooks records yet, and that's going to be the next step. So QuickBooks will try to automate some things, and we'll discuss later what's being automated and how it can be automated and what types of decisions we need to make in order to get this stuff into our financials. So we can see for now that it's in the Review tab at this point, which means we need to go through these transactions and either add them or not add them to our data within QuickBooks. Once we do so, if we've done this a few times, this process becomes easier and easier because QuickBooks can memorize certain things over time. We'll discuss more about what QuickBooks can memorize and what we need to put in manually as we work with this data. For more accounting information and accounting courses, visit our website at accountinginstruction.info.